Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the Superstars in Business Application workshop. Let a few more minutes to let some more people in.
I need more coffee. I gotta wake up. Everybody wake up.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thank you guys for joining us. Today we have Mike Vanderslice, who is the Vice President of Sales and Marketing and Environmental Alliance. He has served on the Superstars in Business Selection Committee for the past 4 years and was the chair in the 2020 event. And we're happy to have him here this morning. Mike, welcome, and thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Carrie. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us. I'm assuming Kelly will probably have a few more folks jump on. We had a lot of folks register for this event today, which is fantastic. So there's definitely a lot of buzz right now for Superstars in Business 2022. But first, so what this is, if getting the vibe and the feel for this workshop, we've done it the last couple of years, and basically it's just it's been really, I feel it's been a lot of value for folks looking to apply, to give them more insight into what the selection committee is looking for, tips here and there. What are some things that you absolutely should get in your application, some things you shouldn't put in your application. So it hopefully will be helpful and productive for you. But we do have a really great panel. They are either past winners or they're on our selection committees. But over the last 24 years, the state chamber and the members of this planning committee have worked really hard to tweak the application that's actually online right now. Over the years, we've updated and improved that application, and we designed it to really challenge businesses and nonprofits to take a hard look at themselves, look at their culture, their organization, to put their best foot forward when you're applying. So just like an immediate tip for everyone: don't just cut and paste from your website. That's the one thing, and we can tell that right away, folks on the selection committee, if it's just maybe wordsmith some marketing text from a website. Well, we are really proud of this program, and over the years, we're really looking forward to selecting our superstars for 2022. And having said that, I'd like to introduce you to our panel. So I'll just take you guys one by one. We have Krista McLaughlin. If you could introduce yourself, please.
My name is Krista McLaughlin. I'm the marketing manager for Wisman Giordano Associates, a public accounting firm in Newark, Delaware. And in 2020, we were a Superstars winner, 2019 an Award of Excellence. And then prior to my joining the firm, I believe in 2017, we were also an Award of Excellence winner.
Thanks, Krista. And then next we have the esteemed Christopher Scarpitti.
Good morning, everybody. Chris Scarpitti. I work with Wisfis Bank. I'm a commercial lender there, and I've served in that capacity in this market for about 25 years. So I work with businesses of your size on my daily life, my regular job, and then I've been part of the Superstars Committee and Business Selection Committee now for about 10 years. So I've seen a lot of applications come through, and kind of the good, the bad, and ugly. And be happy to be here today and kind of share my thoughts and some of my experiences with it.
Thank you, Chris. Michelle.
Everyone, good morning. My name is Michelle Neath, and I am the development manager at Faithful Friends Animal Society. And we were the 2021 recipient of the Superstars in Business Award. So thank you, judges, so much for recognizing Faithful Friends. And this is my first year being part of the workshop, and I recently accepted the invite to be part of the judging committee moving forward. If you're not familiar with Faithful Friends, we are a private nonprofit animal welfare organization based in Wilmington, Delaware. And we have a no-kill animal shelter, low-cost veterinary clinic, and foster care program. And I look forward to being part of the workshop today.
Cool, thank you so much. And last, we have Miss Grace.
Good morning, everybody. I am Grace Stockley, Vice President of Fidelity Trade Incorporated. We're a precious metals commodity firm in Wilmington, trading gold and silver coins and bars for investment. I've been a part of the Superstars Committee for 3 years now, and just looking forward to the workshop today. We're excited to have everyone here, so welcome.
Thank you, Grace. So let's get started. So we have a great panel for you. We'll jump right into it. So the basics, there's 2 forms. Make sure you're looking at the right form when you're doing your application. There's one for businesses, there's one for nonprofits. Some specifics: you have to be in business for at least 3 years and have fewer than 150 full-time employees to be eligible. And obviously you'll see on the first page, there's different categories which you'll be applying to. Between the state chamber, they'll be sorting everybody out. And they usually do a great job of keeping us in the loop as applications come in, how many we have for nonprofit, how many we have for 1 to 24, et cetera. But our panel here, they're with us today because they've all been in some capacity. Like I said, like Michelle and Krista just recently won. Chris and I have been on the committee for several years now. So we kind of know what it takes to win, and we want to share that insight with you today. A new feature this year, there's a nomination process, and I don't know if some of you have actually been nominated yet, or you just saw the application online, wanted to apply. But a new feature, there's a tool that allows anyone that you can nominate a company if you feel like they could be a great candidate or superstar. It's pretty straightforward form. It's on the page for Superstars in Business. And what happens is then, I guess it would be Carrie, you'll reach out to folks if they've been nominated, let them know that, yeah, either anonymously or Mike Vanderslice nominated you for, they think you'd be a great candidate for Superstars in Business. And then basically it's at your discretion if you'd like to apply or not. But new feature is pretty cool. But just to kind of move forward, I'm curious if more for our superstars, our recent superstars, for Krista, Michelle, could you just tell us a little bit about your experience applying for the award, kind of any advice you could offer the companies? We could start with Krista.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, we were an Award of Excellence winner in 2019, and then we reapplied and won in 2020. And I thought my application in 2019 was pretty solid, and I think it was. But I think what's key about the application process is paying attention to this workshop. It was a really helpful tool. And then if you have applied previously, the committee gives you a gift. It's nice wrapped up with a bow on top. They'll give you comments about your application. And I know, and Michelle, certainly speak to your experience, but when I went and reapplied in 2020, I basically made it a checklist, and I went down and I marked off what was mentioned in this forum and then what I've received in the comments. And looking back at my 2019 application, I was like, you know what, I could have written that a little bit better. So if you are a previous applier, do not be discouraged. Try again. It will work out. Also, if you're thinking, well, I've never applied before, gosh golly, am I wasting my time? No, you absolutely can win on your first pass. But I would just say in general, pay attention to the workshop, back up what you say. That's a biggie, whether you're a business or a nonprofit. If you write a sentence, we're super nice, people in the community, well, give us an example, like back it up, show us what you did in the community and whatnot. So Michelle, I don't want to step on your toes too much, but that is, just give the application the time and respect that it basically deserves.
Yeah, Krista, I absolutely agree. We, as I mentioned in my introduction, Faithful Friends was the 2021 recipient of the nonprofit category. And the workshop was extremely helpful for me. I think I actually listened to it a couple times, and then I went back and reread the application. Working with your team, collaboration is really critical. I created a Google Doc, and then I shared that with my team members. And not only it's twofold because they're giving their input, but also they're proofreading as they go and editing. As Mike mentioned, you have to make sure you're within that 450 word limit. I'm a grant writer, so I'm familiar with that, but it is really difficult to be innovative with 450 words. And we'll talk about the attachments a little bit later, which is really important for your application as well. I just want to say winning the award too is extremely valuable for our stakeholders and supporters. The marketing benefits we received, including the video and the photos, were really great to share with our community. We're also in our public phase of our capital campaign and building a new adoption community resource center. So it's been really great to share the award again with our stakeholders. Yeah, so good luck if you're writing your application. You're welcome to, I'll talk about the end, to contact any of us too if you have any questions or concerns.
Yep, and we'll have a few as well.
And Mike, if I could just echo one more thing that you
Sure.
just said earlier, just to reiterate it. This is actually a really healthy exercise for you. Like if you're an employee, you get to think about really why you work where you work and think about all the great reasons that sometimes can get lost in the day-to-day hustle and bustle. And if you're an employer, you know, when you think about everything you've done, it's not a bad exercise to give yourself a pat on the back every now and again. And I think thinking through this whole thing will really, really benefit you and your company as a whole.
Excellent point, Krista. Thank you for that. And kind of building off what Michelle said, when you look at like moving forward with this, there's a lot of things that go into the structure of a good application, do's and don'ts with that. I'm going to go to the grandmaster of the application, Chris Scarpitti, who he offers so much great insight every year as we look to tweak the application a little bit more. You know, a couple of years ago, we had a question about COVID and responding to that and how you overcame obstacles. We've taken that out this year. So I'm going to point this at Chris, if you don't mind. Just starting off, like obviously there's a word count limit, and I think we scaled that back, correct? We used to be at 500, 600 words. We brought that down.
Yeah, so 450 word count is the limit now. We have learned over the years, you know, less can be more. You know, we were certainly seeing applications that were getting thicker and thicker in a stack, and I always tell, you know, it's not the great American novel, right? I think the way to attack this is to be efficient, succinct, business style writing. You know, use metrics, use supporting information, keep the adverbs and adjectives, you know, to limited as you can, because we've seen some where this gets superfluous with all the glorious writing, and it doesn't need to be that. If you can make your point, answer the question that you see on the application. There are tips there with each question, so we try to give you kind of some leading prompts of how to think about the question, and you know, it's also easy to fall into the trap of kind of writing the same thing for each question. You know, really stop and think how the questions are different, because they are very different, and just make sure you have your supporting information for those questions. The banker in me, I'm kind of big on metrics, and we'll talk a little bit about what metrics to use later, but metrics are important. You know, how do you excuse me, how do you track your business? How do you manage your business? The things that you're using that are behind the scenes, you kind of got to pull the curtain back a little bit and let us know how you think about it. That's how we know that you're managing accordingly. And every answer, you know, don't forget, this is superstars, right? So every answer should really kind of have a little bit of why you think you're better than the competitor or the application you're kind of competing against. What makes you different? So those things need to kind of come out into every answer you do. Do not cut and paste. I think Mike alluded to that earlier. We've seen that mistake made many times where, I don't know, people wait and they do their application last minute, but they go, well, this has already been done before. So they go right to the website, click, copy, paste. It just screams unprepared, or I didn't put a lot of thought into this. And that does kind of come through. I mean, selection committee is a room full of, you know, 12 to 16 people. So you know, there's a lot of astute folks in there who are, you know, looking for these types of things. Don't, you know, watch your grammar. You know, some folks are more, you know, into the typos and stuff than others, but yeah, if it comes across with, you know, poor grammar or a lot of typos, that also kind of will jump off the page at the selection committee. And sometimes that can get you right down to the bottom of the pile as well. So just things to keep in mind as you're working through these questions, some of the do's and don'ts we want to see throughout the application.
That's actually a really good point, Chris, the grammar. And you'll see this, and it just came to mind. When we're on the selection committee, we're in a huge room roundtable discussion, and everyone's voting on who they think, oh, I really like this application, I like that application. Some folks are sticklers on the grammar, and they're going to hit it hard. Me, I love bullets. So if you want points from me, put stuff in bullets, because that's fantastic. Because it, like to Chris's point, less is more sometimes. You know, instead of writing a very long, detailed narrative with lots of adjectives, and we were super awesome, special, hit me with a bullet and explain what separates you from everyone else. And Chris really just focused on Form A. That's for our businesses. I want to kind of turn a little bit to the nonprofits, and this is going to be Michelle's world, if you don't mind. Just tell us a little bit more when you're looking at the Form B, as you're completing that application as a nonprofit. What are some do's and don'ts you see were successful for you, Michelle?
Sure. So yeah, there are be conscientious of that. There is, as Mike was saying, there is a Form A and Form B, and Form B is specifically for nonprofits. As I was saying before, I created a Google Doc with all the questions in it, and they're in the application. There's a superstar suggestion, so I'd recommend reading that and trying to parallel that suggestion. It will help with your 450 word count. I think we're going to talk about a little bit about the outcomes as related to nonprofit in a little bit, but specifically for the financial part, you do have to include your 990. That's a financial narrative of your organization. And you want to make sure that your 990 matches your expense allocations. You can work, I work directly with our CFO, but if you have an accountant or bookkeeper, make sure you're involving them in this application. Well-run nonprofit, as it says in the Superstar suggestion, as at least 65% of your total expenses for your program activities. For Faithful Friends specifically, our program and services are 83%, fundraising 14%, and management in general is 3%. If you're not meeting those ratios, you want to make sure you explain that in your narrative when you are looking at question 5, specifically question 5A and Form B.
That's great. And just building on that, a lot of times, nonprofits, it's almost sometimes it is community service. There's a question in Form A about your community service efforts. So when you look at nonprofits, there's different ways to measure success as a nonprofit. I guess, what's the best way, when you were filling out your application last year, how is that measured and how can you include that in your response? Kind of looking at, this is back to Michelle again, if you don't mind. You're still a business, you have incomes, you have expenses as well, but how is that really measured in the response?
Sure. So for nonprofits, our outcomes are a big focus. You want to show who you're serving. So specifically for Faithful Friends, we're serving animals and also human service too. So in the application for nonprofits, you're going to explain your mission, and you want to make sure that your outcomes match parallel with your mission. So for example, just going back to Faithful Friends, when I presented our annual animal and human impacts. So for example, how many pets were adopted. I talked about our program, so how many pets were in foster care. We also have, going back to human services, we also have a free food and supply bank, pet therapy program, pet lifeline. And so basically I said the number and I said what they were serving. You don't have to go, as Chris was saying, you don't have to be elaborate. You want to be direct. You want to say the number, the outcomes, and then the programs it's serving. So outcomes are really critical. If you're a grant writer, you're probably very familiar with that. You're asking for funding. You want to show what your funding is supporting. Very similar for the application. You want to show why you're a superstar, why your numbers need to reflect that, your outcomes.
Thank you. Thanks, Michelle. One other thing in the application, this is for both. A couple of years ago, I mentioned it before, there was a question about overcoming, COVID and what did you do to rise above? That's gone this year, but there's still that question on overcoming challenges. And we've gotten feedback from applicants and folks on the selection committee. Sometimes that is a struggle to answer that question. So this question, actually, I'm going to direct this towards Grace, if you don't mind. Grace, what are some tips when you're looking at that question and overcoming obstacles? What's the selection committee looking for there?
Sure. So first, I think we want an authentic challenge. We don't want to make up something or take something that's minimal and try to expound it and make it seem larger than what it is. We all have challenges in business. So you take a struggle that you overcame, and it's not the struggle per se, it's really how you overcame that challenge that is going to make you considered to be a superstar. The other piece that I want to mention would be, don't say that you didn't have a challenge, right? So take a second, or think about it, come back to that question and really think about a struggle, because you don't want to put that you didn't have one at all, because we all have them. And again, it's not a sign of weakness or anything like that. Be honest and authentic and tell us how you overcame it.
Cool. Anyone else in the panel? Any thoughts on the overcoming obstacles?
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in. Your struggle, I mean, Grace is right. You know, you want it to be authentic. It doesn't have to be, it's not like, oh, my building was flooded out. You know, I mean, not everyone has those kinds of struggles. It might be like, you know, I was looking to expand, and, you know, these were some of the obstacles I had, you know, and they were unique to me and my business, and how did I come around them? So I think sometimes we see folks trying to like almost embellish, you know, like some, you know, struggle that was, you know, like I said, like a flood or something crazy that happened. Some struggles are just, you know, innate to your business. So just take a step back and think, you know, how you grew your business or something you saw, and that can be an obstacle you overcame. It doesn't have to be this, you know, long, you know, dramatic thing. So just think about your business, how it operates, and there are struggles we all encounter on a daily basis in there.
Yeah, and there can be struggles really connected to success too. Like a struggle that we have is, as we grow, our struggle is finding talent that fit our culture. So if someone wants to answer that for me in their application, that'd be fantastic on how you overcame that, because we're having a challenge with that right now. Krista, do you want to share something?
I just want to chime in last thing. And it doesn't have to be a past tense challenge. It could be something you're currently dealing with. And really, it's your strategy and creativity that you are working to overcome an existing challenge. That can also be something related in the application.
Great. Moving forward, so then we look at the application itself. You're filling this out. If you look, you're looking at the application, there's 8 questions, and underneath each question, I'm looking at it right now, there's a superstar suggestion. We came up with that a few years ago. Just everyone on the panel now, between Krista, Michelle, Chris, and myself, and folks from the state chamber, we're always looking to improve the questions and also give as much help and tips as possible for our applicants every year. So they're there to help you use them. You know, we tweak them a little bit every year to kind of what we saw in last year's applications. How does that now translate to this year for 2022? I guess, Chris, I'm going to direct this towards you. Can you embellish on this a little bit, maybe provide some advice on what makes an answer score above the rest?
Sure. And you might be picking up on a theme at some point. I would suggest picking up on that theme. The first is make sure you keep your answers within the word limit. Also, again, not the time for superfluous language. I love a good adjective, just like everybody else. This is not the place. You know, the beauty of bullets and ampersands is that it saves you words, just a little hint. Abbreviations, like my company's name is Wisman Giordano and Associates LLC. Well, all you need is one little parentheses in WGA, and that saves you a lot of space in your application. So there are little like editing tricks you can make along the way. So definitely keep within the word count. And you'll also pick up on a theme. None of these answers should be the same. Even if you're reading the question, they're like, oh, that's super similar. I can use this same content in the next answer. I'm going to give you a hint. You're not really answering the question properly. So if you find that you have a tendency to be repeating yourself, don't do that. Think about the question a little bit deeper. Maybe talk to somebody else about it, get their opinion. It's easy to get really stuck in a loop. Definitely write it outside of the application. I think you use Google Docs, I use Word, whatever. And you can write as much as you want in your own personal Word document. Each answer could be 4,000 words. Have at it. Make your great American novel dream come true. Just don't submit that to the panel. And you definitely don't cut and paste anything from marketing. I know marketing people were like, I wrote this, so it must be brilliant. No, that's not really true. Like, make sure you customize it to the answer. And just really, and again, you'll hear this over again. Chris was driving this home. Back up what you say. Just give an example. We're not talking like deep dive metrics. Say we're active in the community, for example. Just say like we did a run walk, we did a food drive, we did a whatever. Like it doesn't have to be, we're not going before Congress and testifying here, but we definitely do want a couple of real examples of what you do in the real world. And just there's free grammar editing software out there. You can use Grammarly online. I use it all the time for everything. And there's a free version and a paid version. So just a little extra effort now I don't know. So that's my thing about the best practices. Just kind of keep it tight and really tell your story. It's your story. Don't care what anyone else is doing. Just tell your authentic, true story.
Yep, and that's a great point. And if your company, we had this, I want to say last year, Alpha Graphics one. Alpha Graphics is it's a franchise. Have it focus on, you can still apply for your franchise, but really focus on your Delaware company and strong focus on your involvement in Delaware. Another big part of the application is the financial piece. I usually take that when we applied in one years ago, I just literally took that section and sent it to our CFO and said, fill this out, figure it out. So there's a financial component. And Scarpitti, if you don't mind, what's important? What kind of numbers is the committee looking for there?
Yeah, so I think this is a question where I think you see the big disparity of answers. Some folks will tackle it and some folks kind of shy away from it, but it is important to have some financial metrics in there. We're not asking how much do you make or anything like that, what's in your bank account, but we do want to know how you measure your business, right? And there is obvious things like sales and there's profitability, but the numbers go way deeper than that when you run a business, right? Most firms and operations have some kind of KPIs, key performance indicators. It could be different for every business, but they're the things that they're not lost on the committee. We are looking to see that type of information, how you grew or how you reduced something or how we added stores, things like that. They're all financial metrics that should be included in there. Your gross margin, perhaps, right? How you manage your costs, how you might choose new locations to operate your business, new markets you might want it into. How did you decide that was the right market? You didn't just show up there one day, you thought about it. Let us know how you thought about it, because that might be a distinguishing factor in whether you rise above the application that's in the pile next to you. Yeah, I'm in banking, for example. We measure customer engagement through an outside firm, Gallup. Most people have heard of Gallup. I'm sorry, I said Gallup. But we use that all the time inside our shop. We take these surveys and they attach numbers to them. That's how we manage our engagement from our clients. How are we doing as bankers? So those things exist for all our businesses. Just take some time to think about it, and you'll find you'll have them too. Include them into the metrics part of the questionnaire.
Okay, thank you, Chris. And one big part of the application every year that we see when they're coming in, and we have so many to review. There's a ton that come in every year. There is an 8-page total. So when you're preparing this, you're looking at an 8-page total. There is room for an attachment, and I guess between Helena, Kelly, and Carrie, you get these come in these attachments. Use that. My own personal advice on that. I'm gonna ask Michelle too, because she did a great job with hers last year. Use that as like telling your story about your company and your culture. Like when I did ours years ago, and I've seen it, other folks have done this. You're just doing pictures. Like if you did a community service event for XYZ, whatever, nonprofit, 5K walk, whatever, show pictures of that. That's great to see that we're, maybe a picture of a project. Like if you're in the service industry, show us a picture of that kind of stuff. So use that attachment to not much as a narrative and like marketing facts. Like one year, and I know I'm running on here, one year someone just cut and paste from their website. I can see that on your website. If I'm really compelled about your company and your organization, I can just go there anyway. So they just cut and paste marketing text from the website. So use it to like paint a picture. Paint a picture is the best way to describe it. Is there anything else, Michelle? Like again, you had a great submission last year that you recommend in that attachment?
Yeah, Mike, I 100% agree with you. The attachment is really a created visual narrative that it's a way to be creative, and it is only 8 pages, and it's not, you don't want to be redundant what you already put in your application. Like Mike was saying, you want to showcase pictures for nonprofits specifically. Who are you serving? Let's see these individuals. Let's see these animals. A visual is a really great opportunity to share who you're serving. Last year, I took pieces of our annual report and then also used letters of recommendation, and I combined that in one document. I know that Krista mentioned we were talking before, and I think she made a collage of photos and had submitted that. So that's a wonderful idea, a great idea too. Again, it's just being creative, and it's a visual again for the judges to view your mission and your business too.
I'll add something like real quick. It's also, I
Yeah, go
mean,
for it.
if you're going to have an attachment sometime, it's also a good place to maybe display some of the financial metrics you're trying to talk about too, because they can get very wordy sometimes. So if there's a succinct way to have a graph or a chart that kind of tells your story, that's a good place to have it. Yeah, this application has evolved over years of doing this, you know, and the reason we're at 450 and 8 pages because folks took a habit of just, well, the more testimonials I'll give, the better, the more chance I'm going to have to win. So we were getting stacks of, you know, 4 pages of writing with 22. Everyone has testimonials. It's great that we get them. Having 1 or 2 in there that support something you said earlier, I think is very important. But don't fall in the trap of going, well, the more testimonials I can layer in here, the better than I think I'm going to be. It almost can work against you once in a while if you're just leaving it for other people's letters to support what you're trying to tell about your business. So those attachments, use that page or whatever you're going to use wisely when you have an attachment.
And Chris is a big fan of bar graphs, so throw a bar graph in there.
Give me a chart.
And that's a good way to do it. I mean, I actually do remember from one application, it was like some photos of some community service. There was a testimonial from a client, and I do remember that. It was like a pie chart or bar graph. They had some metrics there too. It was like, this is it. I might as well just look at this and be able to judge them off that. Any last advice from our panelists between Grace, Krista? I guess I'll start with Grace, if you don't mind. Any last advice you'd share with the folks?
Sure. I would say get started sooner rather than later, so you can give yourself time to walk away, come back, and don't go at it alone. Like get feedback from coworkers or even family, because you know they'll give it to you straight. I think that's my advice.
That's awesome. And they will give it to you straight. Michelle, any last thoughts from you?
I'm sure. I really recommend collaborating with your team. That was really helpful for me. As I mentioned before, someone's proofreading, and they're also adding their viewpoint as well. It's not just coming from the writer. And specifically going back to nonprofits, it's really a narrative of your organization, your mission, and the services you're providing for the community. And it's also really helpful for me to go back and watch the videos. All the previous winners are on the Chamber's website and where the Superstar application is. And so I went and reviewed some of the videos, or watched the videos. And then I think some of them actually went to the organization's website just to see if it, just to see how it paralleled with how they were serving the community. That was really helpful for me.
Chris?
Yeah, I would suggest, while this can feel like a homework assignment, right, getting all these questions in 8 pages, I would try to enjoy this process. I think you can learn a lot about your business, how you think about your business, where your business is heading by going through this process. I think that's some of the best feedback we've gotten, where people get away from the day-to-day, they can think bigger picture from 40,000 foot, looking down how they operate, and they learn things about themselves and their business that help them moving forward, whether they become the superstar or they don't become the superstar that year. It's also a process. Sometimes it could be a multi-year process. We're not telling you it's going to take 3 or 4 years to become a superstar, but because people have one in their first year for sure. But there are people who have, and I joked earlier, the good, the bad, the ugly. There are folks who I personally knew were great businesses, but they did not hand in great applications. And they came back, they went through workshops like this, where they take the feedback that we supplied. Some of them even, sought direct counsel from members of the selection committee and said, how can I improve? And they come back a year later or 2 years later with some of the best applications. I mean, we could have an application hall of fame. Some of those end up there and they started poorly. So kind of enjoy the process and really think about what you're doing here, and you will have a good application when it's all said and done.
And if I can jump in on that too, that's a great point. And I brought this up in last year's workshop. If we give advice, so what will happen is when you apply, you're going to get feedback. The way it works is there's a large committee. Everyone reviews every application. Then we break it down to that 5 or 6 of us really focus on the different groups. And the state chamber likes us to do like a feedback sheet that gets provided to you with your application, whether you win or lose. use that tool, because I remember this drove me crazy last year. There was a really great story, great application. I'm like, I want to learn so much more about this organization. And I said, just all you have to do and everyone threw feedback in too, just do this, and talk about that, and that. And they submitted the following year, and they took about like 20% of the advice. And it was almost like the same. I remember Chip yelling at me. They basically took the same answer from last year and just put it in again. I'm like, oh my God. And I actually was bringing it up in the application review, like the same thing. They said the same exact thing. And I told them specifically, you got to do this, this, and this. So take my word for whatever, the advice, but use that advice because it is really, really great feedback. And to Chris's point, we saw one application 3 years ago, same kind of vibe, like, oh my gosh, this would be a great story to hear. We'd love to see them a superstar, but they fell short here, and here. The following year, they filled those gaps, and it was awesome. It blew it out of the water. Krista, last but not least.
Yeah, Mike, I totally ditto on everything you just said, because like I mentioned earlier, I made notes from this video. Like I said, I think I was probably like all the hits on the year, like of viewing this panel on the Chamber's website, because I just kept rewatching the video and like making notes. And then from the feedback we had the year before, I just, literally made sure that everything that was on this list was what were included in my answers. Not beating a dead horse here, so to speak, but definitely talk to other people. Also, if you need stuff from other people, be a good team player and don't ask them with like a day or two's notice, like, hey, accounting department, I need your financials. And when people are swamped, so just make sure you give enough time for people who are reviewing or you're asking things from, that you give them enough time. Also, like, it's worth the effort. I know we're making it seem like perhaps maybe a bit intimidating. It's so worth the effort. We use the logo on everything. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say, like, you'll find it in so many of our print ads and online campaigns and such. And here's also a little bit of a tip. If you do a good job with this now, I'm not saying a certain person has done this, but this one, you can take the content from this solid application and then use it in other applications. You can copy and paste nice little segments. So putting in the time now will definitely save you time on the back end. Just saying, someone may do this regularly. So
that's awesome. Well, I think that's it. I mean, if there's any questions from the group, I haven't seen the chat. I guess if Carrie or Kelly could help us out with that. Are there any questions in the chat?
So Mike, I did receive an email question, and they just wanted to know, do they need to answer all of the superstar suggestions?
Chris, what do you think?
I would recommend it. I mean, they're there as prompts, right? So, I mean, if it takes you down, like, you want to answer the question, right? Now, I know that if you're asking about the tips that come with the question, I'd recommend staying as close as you can to that. I mean, there might be something about your business we don't know, so we're not telling you not to write something there, but they are there for a reason. We want the question to head in that direction, but it's not imperative that every one of those things end up in your answer. But you do want to make sure your answer encompasses the question that was asked. I mean, the tips are there because that's kind of how the committee is thinking about that particular question. I hope that
right. It's basically a guide. It's a guide for, yeah. You don't feel like you have to answer every little piece of that. If it really doesn't apply to your company, especially, just use it as a guide. This is what the selection committee, year after year after year, this is what they're looking for in a response to that specific question, and focus on that. Don't feel like you have to over embellish or build too much into it because there's that 450 word count. Just take your time with it and just focus on what that superstar tips kind of guiding you to respond with. Anything else, Carrie?
The other two that I received were answered, which were, how do they not repeat themselves? I don't know if you want to elaborate more on that.
Well, I'll say, it is easy to repeat yourself. We do see that mistake made, right? You'll read an application, you're like, I heard this already. So I think it gets back, honestly, to give yourself time to complete it, right? I mean, write a little bit, put it down, come back, and just pick it up with fresh eyes to make sure it's reading kind of right. If you read a question and you have an answer, but you find out later on, like, man, it might be better served down here, go back and redo the first one. Make it as an opportunity to write about something else. There are multiple facets of your business. just try not to fall in the trap of, repeating the same themes, or honestly, we've seen people tell the same story twice in an application, which is just kind of pointless. So yeah, just try to use each question as an opportunity to explore a different way you operate and run your business.
I'll jump in real quick, Krista. With that, just kind of building on what Chris said, so you don't repeat yourself. What I did when I did application 75 years ago, I did a question a week. I would do one question a week, and that way I didn't feel like I was repeating myself, because I was taking like a different, fresh approach to each question and how I was going to respond to it. So everything's due, I want to say July 14th. You got time. So start now, as silly as it sounds, start now and just do one question a week and at least have it framed out in an outline or bullets or something. So that way it gives you plenty of time now, like Krista just said, to, hey, I got to go to financials. I got to remember I got to get financials from, Lori about this stuff. So it gives you time to use your resources internally within your organization. If you have a graphics person, have them start working on the attachment, building that together. Just take your time with it, one question a week, and you'll crush it. You'll knock it out of the park. Krista, I think did you want to share something?
Yeah, it just to your point, I probably thought about my application, a couple weeks even before I started writing it, and there was this like random notes like scribbled on like my printout of the application. Like I write just like a single word, that because it really is also a memory exercise for you, because it's easy to forget in the hustle of every day, like all the stuff that your company does do, or all the things that you do. And, it'd be a note like, as I was making dinner, like something would pop into my brain. So just, again, giving yourself the luxury of time to think about things, because that's really where you're going to be like, oh, wait, this should go into question 2, and this can go into question 5 or whatever. So the luxury of time is the greatest gift you give yourself.
Thank you for that. I think that's it. Any other questions, Carrie, or we got them covered?
That's all I received, unless anyone of the participants would like to unmute and ask a question.
Don't be shy if you have one. It's a good time.
You get 3 extra points if you ask a question.
I have a quick one. I actually saw online, it did say something about if interested, we could be connected with a past recipient or winner. Is that something, is it just asking their advice, or is it to contact someone at the chamber? So is that something that is available? That you could partner up with someone?
Let Kelly answer that one.
That's coming off mute so I can answer. Yeah, we can connect you with the past winner, and it's really for advice on helping to write after your application. And normally you would go to someone at the chamber so that we can approach a past winner and try to strategically match you someone that's in your same employee category. So that way you're getting matched with someone that's going to give you good advice.
Okay, so I could like connect with you to see if you can find someone to match me with. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thanks. 3 points, Mike. There you go.
That's a great question, Amy. That was excellent. Duly noted. I guess moving forward, so we have some housekeeping items, just to kind of an overview as we move forward, the timeline and everything. And I want to say Carrie's going to take this for us.
Yes, so the timeline is that the deadline to apply is going to be July 14th at 4:30 p.m. I posted in the chat the website for the application, which also features the PDF. You feel free to download the PDF, you can use that, but you must submit the application online. The selection committee is going to receive the application on July 14th after the 4:30 p.m. deadline. They're going to review it. They're going to meet in the second week of August and determine the winner. And then you're either going to receive a phone call or an email from me regarding your application, whether or not you've been selected. I want you to save the date for the awards luncheon, which is November 2nd at the Hotel DuPont. If you are the winner, you will be there and you'll receive your award. Winners are going to receive a promo video filmed by 1440 Film Company. They also get a photo shoot and are featured on our magazine, Delaware Business, on the cover. Then they get an article along with that. They receive 2 tickets to the award ceremony at the Hotel DuPont, where they'll receive a Crystal Award. And then they also get all the press exposure and publicity that comes with it being named the superstar in business. And then I posted in the chat, the website, the survey or the application is on SurveyMonkey. So when you're finished, just simply click submit the application, and then we'll notify you in mid-August. Let's see. If you'd like the ability to edit your application, you have until the July 14th deadline. You just go in, it saves all of it. You can go and edit it before you submit it or resubmit it. You have to use the same device and web browser that you used to originally start it. And then let's see. Sorry.
You're good. I think a big thing too, the attachment has to be emailed to Carrie.
Yes,
That's important.
yes, the
That can't be uploaded. You got to email that to her separately.
Email me any PDF attachment, and I just posted my email right there in the chat. If you have any questions about it, or you want to connect with a committee member, go ahead and use that email right there. Talk to me and I'll connect you. And as Krista and Michelle mentioned, it's very good to write your responses in Word or a Google Doc and then copy and paste it over. That way you can keep your word count at 450.
Carrie, I have a silly question here for you.
Yes.
When you're doing the application online and doing it in the portal, does it, like if I take it from Word and I put it into the application, does it tell me how many words I've done? Is there a word count in there?
No, there's no word count. So it's,
Okay.
yeah, so it's very beneficial to do it in a Word doc or in Google Docs so you get that word count.
Okay.
And then all applicants will receive feedback following, before next year's application. You'll receive feedback of how your application went.
Yeah, we will, when we have the selection committee, all of our feedback is due at that time. So that's all submitted in August. And then what happens is the chamber will compile that feedback, create a package for each applicant. You'll receive that in a couple weeks later. Is it after the awards, Helena, Kelly, that they get it?
It is after the awards, yes.
Okay, so you'll get that after November 2nd. But it is pretty awesome. I mean, I'm a past winner, Michelle and Krista as well. Chip was a winner. It's just when you get on stage, you get the award, and just the prestige that comes with it being like a state chamber event, state chamber award. And to Krista's point, we won 10 years ago, and I still use that logo on submissions. And I think the reason we haven't reapplied is because I've been on the committee. So I was like, I want to reapply, and I was like, I probably shouldn't do that since I'm hosting the workshop. That would look pretty bad if we won. So we won't be applying for a while, but it is. And the video too, they prepare a beautiful video. You get a copy of that. It's uploaded, still 10 years old, it's uploaded on our website, but it gives you a great, tells a great story about our company, and it's really worth the effort. Any last thoughts from our esteemed panel? And I thank them for joining us this morning and donating your time for our applicants. Anything else you'd like to share before we close this up?
I think just good luck at this point. Enjoy the process, and I wish you all the success as you work through the application. If you have questions along the way, ask.
Yep, great point. Don't hesitate to ask.
Yeah, I just want to echo Chris too. I mean, if you have any questions, please reach out. And to go back to the marketing benefits, we have a plaque in Faithful Friends lobby that promotes Jane Parentazzi, our executive director, accepting the award. So it has been just really tremendous to be able to share, receive the nonprofit award last year. So good luck to everyone. Excited to be part of the Superstars application.
Cool. Are we good, Carrie? Anything else? Kelly, Carrie, Helena?
That is it. Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you, panelists.